Hey there, it's Olivia Savannah here from Olivia's Catastrophe, and today I'm here to give you a huge book haul. I mean huge. There are so many books here, but this video is like a massive thank you to all of my friends and to all of my family and to a particular company who gave me books for Christmas. Especially my family, as they always say I have too many and they still manage to give me some. I appreciate you. But now I'm here to go through all of the books and I'm going to keep it short and sweet hopefully, but I still have a feeling this video is going to be very long, so if you want to hear about some exciting books that have been added to my shelves, stick around and let's get right down to the books. So the first book that I have here is I'm Glad My Mum Died by Jennette McCurdy. This was a beautiful gift from my good friend Serena from A Wandering Mind. I've known Serena basically since I started my channel. It's been several years now, so thank you very much, Serena. This book has been taking the book world I should say, by storm. It's a memoir that I see everywhere and I'm a big fan of reading memoirs, so I want to see what I will think of this one for myself. I heard that it's a brutally honest telling of Jennette McCurdy's experience in the film and acting world when she did not particularly want to be there herself, and it also talks a bit about her mental health and how her mother kind of forced her into the situation. It's one that I'm hoping to actually start reading today, so who knows, by the time this video goes up I might have my thoughts on it, I might not yet. I don't do scheduling, so we shall see. I'm very much looking forward to reading it and I hope I'll be able to appreciate this memoir. The next book is a gift from my good friend Abby from Abbey of Pelennor. Me and Abby have just become great friends for a long time now and it was lovely to meet her for the first time last year. She gave me 3 books, but this is the one that she added to my TBR, and that is The Tea Dragon Society, which is a graphic novel about these tea making dragons. From all that I know about it, everyone says it's really heartwarming and cute, and I am a big fan of tea. We talk about tea a lot on this channel, so I've wanted to read this one for a very long time and I'm very glad that I'm able to now. So thank you very much, Abby. Thank you to the publishers for sending me a copy of One for My Enemy by Olivier Blake. I've heard so much about this author because of their Atlas 6 series. As soon as I heard the synopsis of this one, I was quite intrigued. So we're following these 2 empires and they are kind of struggling against each other and warring against each other, and at the head of these empires sits Baba Yaga. So it sounds like it could be an interesting mix of mythology but also like enemies vibes and 2 families that are rivaling. It just sounds like the kind of thing that I do enjoy in a good fantasy book. I've also got a massive gift card that I can spend in bookshops in the UK, and because I got this gift card around Christmas time and then the Waterstones Boxing Day sales happened, I decided to spend half of it at the Boxing Day sales. The first of which is She and Her Cat by Makoto Shinkai and Naruki Nagakawa, and this one is translated by Ginny Tapley Takamori, and this is just a book that I've been seeing all over Instagram and all over BookTube, and it sounds like a very cute and very sweet and sometimes in some places sad novella. That's really all I needed to know. I'm happy to try a novella that's sweet and sad and lovely. And then another novella that I'm very excited to have is And Every Morning The Way Home Gets Longer and Longer by Fredrik Backman. I've read Beartown by Fredrik Backman and also another book, My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Not Sorry, and I loved both of them. They were both 5-star reads and new favourites for me, so I'm just going to work my way through his books, I believe. That's the plan that I've got for myself, and this one is one that's quick and short, but people say it's really heartwarming or heartbreaking. Those seem to be the 2 things I really like. Give me a heartbreaking story, give me a heartwarming story, and I am a happy reader. So for this novella, I got a lot of novellas for that Waterstones gift card. In this novella, I know that the word is definitely heartwarming, and that is Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan, which I've been seeing all over Bookstagram and BookTube. It's a Christmassy, heartwarming novella. That's how I've heard it mostly summarised, and that is what I enjoy reading, so I'm looking forward to getting to this one, hopefully very soon. Me in the fantasy genre have been having some up and down times lately, and I've been really struggling to find what is my jam in mainstream fantasy, but when Abby read The Final Strife by Sarah L. Arifi and really loved it, I thought maybe this could be one of the mainstream fantasy books that I could appreciate as well. So with my Waterstones gift card, I decided to get this edition. It was signed by the author, and on the back it says The Empire Rules by Blood. and is that rule about to come to an end? So it kind of gives me The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson vibes, where there's an empire that's been in place for a very long time and it might all come tumbling down, and so what could rise from the ashes and what could cause it? I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to see how it goes and I'm going to give it a go. I still remain hopeful because I love the adult fantasy genre, so I'm looking for good adult fantasy recommendations pretty much. I'm also someone who really takes on books by recommendations, so again, with my gift card I got The School for Good Mothers by Jessamine Chan. This is a book that has been recommended to me by several people. A work colleague read it, she liked it. My mum read it, she liked it. One of my older sisters read it, she liked it. And then Barack Obama read it and he also liked it. So do you know what? I'm ready to read it and I'm ready to like it. I feel like it's got dystopian vibes. I've been told it's very gripping. It's one you don't want to put down. I've watched both my sister and my mum not be able to put it down. In the Waterstones sale, I didn't realise it was the special edition with sprayed edges, which is this is a nice simple sprayed edge. This lovely gift is from Victoria, from What Victoria Read. She is a good booktube friend of mine and I really enjoy her channel and her really fantastic wrap-up videos, and we both share a love for Shakespeare, so for Christmas she got me All's Well by Mona Awad, and this is a story about a theatre teacher, I believe, and she's putting on a stage production of one of Shakespeare's plays, but maybe it's a bit more relatable to real life in terms of mental health and how things are going in the school. I think that's what it's about. I haven't checked the synopsis, but that's what I believe it is about. Don't take my word for it. But anything Shakespeare inspired, I'm kind of happy to give a shot because I just love Shakespeare that much, and All's Well Ends Well is not a play I get to see retold or included in remixes and infusions that much, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this book chooses to do it. Then we have You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akwaeke Emezi, and I have to say a massive thank you to my fellow middle older sister April and Tamara as well, who both got me this version of the book. So this is what the UK cover looks like, and I am vain when it comes to books that I think I'm going to wholeheartedly love. I want the most beautiful cover, and I think the UK one is ugly compared to the stunner that this book is. So I really wanted this edition and she got it for me and I'm so happy, and actually the day after Christmas when I opened it, actually on Christmas Day, I started reading this book. So I'm currently a third of the way through and it is delivering. Nobody writes like Akwaeke Emezi writes. They just their writing is something else. This is Akwaeke Emezi's first romance book, and we're following Faye, who is a widow, and she is kind of trying to open herself up to relationships and love again, but sis is messy. Sis is falling for all sorts of people and it is a wild ride, and I'm only a third of the way in. So I know there's going to be loads more for me to discover while reading this book. I'm having a jolly good time though. I love Akwaeke Emezi's writing. So we're still on family gifts. So thank you to my family for Uzumaki by Junji Ito. This is going to be my first horror manga by the horror manga king himself, Junji Ito, who I've heard so much about from BookTube and just from the manga world, and it's time that I try his work for myself. So Uzumaki is the one where these spirals are kind of taking over, and that is the horror element to it. These spirals are taking over and nobody knows why or what is happening, and I've taken a peek at the artwork and it just looks terrifying. This is the colour end papers, but inside it's mostly black and white, and it just sounds like it's going to be some scary goodness. On the alternative flip side to that, the other side of my reading personality, I also got from my family Check Please by Ngozi Ukazu, and this one is a graphic novel following this hockey team, and I believe it's told in the perspective of one of them is kind of vlogging the hockey team's experience, and he's also a baker and he starts to crush on one of the fellow players. I think that's what this one is about, but it just sounds like it's going to be a very cute and heartwarming graphic novel, and I love a sweet story. Okay, so basically we've established that I want heartbreaking, horror, or heartwarming. This falls into the heartwarming category. Thank you to the publisher for sending a finished copy of The Marriage Act by John Mars. I've talked about this one before because I was sent an early proof for review, but I did a giveaway with them over on Instagram where you could win a hardback copy. I believe the giveaway is going to be over by the time that this video goes up, but I will at some point be sharing my thoughts on this book. So in this world, marriage is the law. You have to get married and it needs to be a happy marriage. And if that is the case, would you dare disobey when your marriage is always kind of evaluated and always being checked upon and examined and watched with that kind of glassy eye. So set in that kind of world, and it sounds like it's going to be a fun thriller with lots of elements and unexpected twists in it as well. Going back to gifts, thank you to Chelsea from Chelsea Ajao for the copy of All Systems Red by Martha Wells. This is the first book in the Murderbot series, which is a series of novellas following this AI robot and what they do in there every day, I believe. And it just sounds like it's some really cute sci-fi fun. And I've seen so many people love on this series, and as someone who enjoys a good sci-fi novella, I did want to try this one for myself, and now I'm going to be able to start the series and see if I like it just as much as everyone else does. And also a big thank you to Mary, who is a sweet fellow classics lover like me. She got me a copy of Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu for Christmas, and that was just so lovely of her. Thank you so much. I am a big fan of Dracula. I just think it's fantastic. It's one of my favourite classics. I can't get enough of that story and all the things around it and inspired by it, but I've wanted to read Carmilla for a long time now because this is the one that actually inspired Dracula, one of the first vampire books. So I'm very much looking forward to reading it. It seems like it's going to be short, but I've heard that it's perfectly spooky and gothic. In the Waterstone sale, so back to those books, I also got As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow by Zulfa Katu. This one is a beautiful story of love and loss that is set during and around the Syrian revolution, as far as I can tell. And I've just seen so many Muslim readers just say how good this one is, and so many really championing this book that I pay attention to it. If a community says that this book is a good one, I'm going to go and try and read it and learn more, but also just experience a lovely story. In the sale, I also got Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson, and this is actually one I don't know too much about, and I just had several people recommend it to me back to back, and so I can't ignore that. When people are giving me a personal recommendation, different people all together, it must mean the book has something in it that could be very good for me. And also in the sale it was the special edition for half price, so I thought I should get it. Oh wow. Okay, so this actually sounds perfect for me. Everybody who said I should get it was so right. I love the sound of the synopsis. So we're following this family, and there's Eleanor who dies, and she's not going to let her death get in the way of what she wants. So she invites all these people to her funeral, and then she leaves a voice recording with some truths about the family getting out into the open, into the air, that maybe people wouldn't have expected to hear about. And then she also leaves them a traditional Caribbean black cake with some different instructions, and it just sounds like family drama, but also it has to do with death and grief and healing at the same time, which are all things I really enjoy reading. And so I'm glad that people recommended this to me, and I hope I will love it. And then I think this is the last one. Yes, the last one that I got with that gift card. I still can't believe I have half of the gift card left. It was a very generous gift. I got Just Saying by Malorie Blackman, which is one that I was going to read no matter what. Malorie Blackman wrote a series that I'm going to talk about later in this haul, which just means the world to me and means a lot to who I am, but also my reading journey. And so even though I haven't kept up with all of the books that she's published since that series, because sis publishes a lot, I did want to read her memoir as soon as I heard about it, and since then one of my sisters have read it, and she said that Malorie Blackman has had a life, and a life lived with loads of things to tell. And so I'm very much looking forward to reading this memoir, but it was always going to happen because it's Malorie Blackman memoir, so of course I'm going to read it hands down, no doubt about it. So I went to the secondhand bookshop with my friend in the Netherlands while I was there, and the bookshop for the Christmas period were giving everyone who came into a shop a book of their choice for free, which was just the most lovely gift to just get randomly by wandering in that day. So the book that I chose for myself was The House of the Spirits by Isabel Allende. I'd literally just finished reading her memoir Paula when I was going to that shop, and I've read other books by Isabel Allende in the past, but never this one, which is arguably one of her most famous, if not her most famous book. And it's a family saga, and it's got to do with spirits and the beliefs that the family has, but also just their experiences and what the family gets into. And in reading her memoir, I got to hear about her talking about writing some of her other books, and this is one that really stood out to me as one that I just needed to get around to reading. So I'm very much looking forward forward to getting to do that. And then I was there with my friend, and I was trying to decide which one should be my free book between two books because of the fact that I'm on my buying ban. And then she was like, well, I'm going to get you the other one as a Christmas present. So thank you, Luna, for that. That was really, really kind of you. And so the other one she got me from the secondhand shop was The Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver. So I'd been on Instagram and everyone was talking about Demon Copperhead and how amazing it is, but it did not seem like the kind of book that I wanted to read. But what it did do instead was make me more intrigued about the Poisonwood Bible, which had been on my radar at some point, but then I thought, maybe not. And then with all of the talk about Demon Copperhead, I talked to my sister and she recommended the Poisonwood Bible, and so then it made me want to read this one. And so now I have it and I'm going to read this one. It sounds like a book that's set in Africa that has to do with identity and politics, largely speaking, as a brief kind of thematic scope of the book. And then we're back to Christmas gifts from my family. Thank you to my family for getting me the US edition of In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. So at this point you'll have seen my best books of the year list, and you'll have noticed that her short story collection was on my best books of the year list. And since then I've wanted to read her poetically written and poetically styled memoir In the Dream House. But this is the UK cover. I've talked about the fact that I'm vain sometimes, and if I think I'm going to really love a book, I do want to have a beautiful edition of it. So I prefer the US edition, and thank you to my family for getting it for me. And I'm looking forward, as I said, I like a good memoir. I've really liked her short story writing in the past, and so I think I'm going to appreciate the writing but also probably the story to this memoir. Let me tell you about Taylor Iridescent Blaze on Bookstagram. We've been friends for around 8 years now. We met on a writing society website that I used since I was 12. I don't use it anymore, but if you knew me by the name of Deanie, hello! Thanks for sticking around for so long. But yes, Iridescent Blaze is kind of my writing buddy friend, and I would love to meet her someday, but she spoiled me rotten this Christmas. She got me two series of books. That's something else. Taylor, you're someone else. But the first one she got me, I'm only going to show you 4 of the books, but she got me the rest of the Heroes of Olympus series by Rick Riordan. I read The Lost Hero last year and I had such a good time, and I actually preferred it as a first book in a series to the actual Percy Jackson series, like the traitor that I am. But it was just so good, and I can't believe I'd had reservations about continuing on with his other books for so long, and so now I have the rest of the books in this series, so I can just keep reading this sequel series, and I think I'm gonna love it, and I think it's doing all the things that a sequel series should do correctly. These are Greek mythology retellings, or the original series are Greek mythology retellings, and maybe some other things get brought into these books. I'm so excited to read them. I really fell in love with Leo Valdez, and I hope he appears in each and every single one of these books. And I did say that I would talk about another series, and that is the Noughts and Crosses series by Malorie Blackman. And yeah, this series is very close to my heart. Thank you to Taylor for getting me these ones as well. You are absolutely amazing. And yeah, the Noughts and Crosses series is really close to my heart. My mum did a very good job of making sure that we read picture books with black characters in them when we were younger, but then when I went to my school library and was picking out, middle grade books, there weren't many with black characters. There weren't any, actually, and it was only when I went to secondary school and in my first year of secondary school, picked up Noughts and Crosses and saw myself as a black character, as a main character in a book. And these books kind of look at discrimination. It flips the oppression situation, so the black people are at the top of the hierarchy and the white people are oppressed, and this is a big kind of metaphor, satirical way of looking at race in the present day world, and it's done really, really well. I read the first 4. So originally the series only had 4 books: Noughts and Crosses, Knife Edge, Checkmate and Double Cross, which are these 4. I read each and every single one of these and I loved them. I read them from my library, which is why I've never owned my own full set of the books, and now I do, so thank you so much, Taylor. But then after Brexit happened and certain things with Trump happened, Malorie Blackman felt called to continue the series because she thought there were still issues around race that needed to be addressed in books. And so she continued the series and extended them many years later with Crossfire and Endgame, and these are the two that I have not read, so they'll be added to my TBR, but these will be added to my favourites read shelf, because this is just one of those series that has impacted me for life. We're getting through them. So thank you again to Abby from Abby of Pelennor, because she also got me some books that I'd read before but did not own, and she got me The Colour Purple by Alice Walker, which I do actually own. I was given a secondhand copy by one of my friends, but I really wanted a copy that was brand new, that was kind of mine, and in a beautiful, once I saw this cover in a bookshop, I just fell in absolute love with it, because it's just such a good representation of the story, and I love this book. The Colour Purple, just The Colour Purple. The main character is Celie, and she's kind of forced into an abusive marriage, and it's just talking about her journey and her experiences doing so. And then we also follow her sister Nettie, who is kind of pulled away from her and separated from her, and who goes down their own journey, but they kind of manage to keep in touch, and it's their stories that we're following. It's emotional, and it's heartbreaking, and it's hopeful, and it's written in the ways in which the character speaks and spells, so there's that element to it as well, but it's just a masterpiece of a book. Thank you so much for this copy, Abby. Next up, I want to say thank you to EDPR for these copies of the trilogy by Sierra Simone. So these are spicy romance novels. We have Saint, we have Sinner, and we have Priest. And these are romance novels that are kind of based around religious figures. So Saint is about a monk having a spicy romance book. This one's about a sinner having a spicy romance book. And this one's about a priest having a spicy romance book. And okay, do you know what made me want to read this series, this trilogy of books? Is because I saw, you know, Christians who do read new adult romance, sometimes they review the books that they read, and loads of them confess to just not being able to read these books on a Sunday. They couldn't do it in the good consciousness of their heart. And ever since I saw that, you know what I thought? I thought, I want to read that. I thought, they can't read it in good conscience on a Sunday, I'm gonna read this book. So I'm very much looking forward to having a spicy, sexy romance reading time with this trilogy. Thank you to Bloomsbury for sending me a copy of The Light in Everything by Katja Balin. The Space We're In by Katja Balin, her debut novel, is one that I read a couple of years ago now when it first came out, and that made it onto my best books of that particular year list, and since then I've been meaning to read more Katja Balin. We're following these two children, Tom, who has been very quiet ever since his dad has left 2 years ago, and Sophia, who is very loud and outgoing, and they couldn't be more opposites from each other. However, they're going to have to get along because their parents have fallen in love and are going to have a baby together. It's a middle grade book if you didn't realise as well. So it sounds like it's going to be a very emotional one, but I trust and have so much faith in Katja Balin's writing. Then we have Stand Up by Nikesh Shukla. I have read Nikesh Shukla's non-fiction. I've read the collection he edited called The Good Immigrant, but also his memoir Bound Baby, so I know that he can write well because both of those are absolutely fantastic, but I'm looking forward to delving into his young adult for the very first time. And so in Stand Up, we're following our main character. She's 17 years old and she's made it in stand-up comedy and she's doing pretty well. However, at what cost does that come? Because she feels like she's completely lost and needs to figure out a lot about herself before she can be cracking jokes. And that's what this one is about. I've recently read a book about stand-up comedy that was young adult age group, and I'm looking forward to reading more and expanding into it a bit more. Yes, very excited for this. Thank you to the publisher for this collection of poetry, which is June Jordan's collection of poems called Haruko, or Love Poems. I've heard that June Jordan is an iconic poet and that she's one that I should definitely be reading. I was also recommended her poetry, or more so broadly speaking, Kevi from Say Kevi recommended June Jordan's poetry in one of her wrap-ups, and so I've been meaning to try some, and then this poetry collection was released in January and I was like, I can finally get a collection of June Jordan's works. So I'm very, very excited to read those. I love poetry, I love it so much. I want to say a big thank you to Dom from Dom P is here for this beautiful edition of Tales from 1001 Nights. Dom is a really good friend of mine. We are fangirl friends. She has an amazing booktube channel, but also a film channel. So if you like TV and films as well as talking about books, I would definitely recommend checking hers out. She is lovely and she is currently reading these short stories. And so yeah, she got me them so we can discuss them and talk about them too. This is the Penguin Classics edition in hardback. I collect these editions. And also a big thank you to Hannah from Perusing Hannah, who is probably one of my oldest Bookstagram friends at this point. We've known each other for a long time, and she's kept me company on many a nights where we have both struggled with our insomnia together. Again, lovely, and it takes beautiful photos that you should definitely check out. But thank you to her for this copy of Noor by Nnedi Okorafor. I loved the Binti trilogy so very much, and I need to read more Nnedi Okorafor in my life, and I'm so excited to get to Noor. I heard about this one first on Jessie's channel from Bowties and Books, and it just sounded like everything I adore in an African futurism, Afrofuturism book. Our main character always refers to herself as an AO, which is an artificial organism, because that's how she feels, and then after a car accident that disables her even further than she's already disabled, her body kind of takes on this new element of technology and human formation that matches kind of her mindset. But then one day she goes to the market and everything changes. While she's there, I have faith. I put my faith in Nnedi Okorafor to give me a great story, because that concept alone has me quaking and ready to read it. So up next, I want to say a big thank you to the publishers for this book, which is called 6 Times We Almost Kissed and the One Time We Did by Tess Sharp. And as soon as I heard that title, I just wanted to give this one a go. If you read fanfic, you will know that that is such a fanfic title. And in this one, we're following these 2 girls who really don't like each other, they don't get along, but their mums happen to be best friends. And so when the mums decide that they are going to spend a summer together, they have to try and get along. But maybe these girls are going to have some moments where they almost kiss, and maybe they do and they don't talk about it because they're supposed to be enemies. Yeah, this sounds like it's going to be drama and sapphic. Sapphic drama. Scarlet by Genevieve Cogman, and basically this one is revolutionary France and vampires, and that is why I could not resist and why I wanted to read it. If it's got vampires in it, I'm curious, but also like revolutionary France, that just sounds like it's going to be a fascinating combination. Also a Scarlet Pimpernel retelling at the same time, so it's bringing those 3 elements together, and it sounds like it's going to be fun and fascinating and a bit weird too, and I'm here for all of those things. On a similar note, I definitely have a type, and the type is vampires. I have The Reluctant Immortalist by Gwendolyn Kist, and this one is following the 2 characters that are forgotten about in Dracula and Jane Eyre, Lucy and Bertha Mason. So Lucy and Bertha Mason are both vampires. They're immortal and they're living out their existence, trying to just be the best that they can be while they are vampires. But then the men who made them the vampires that they are, Mr. Rochester and Dracula, come back to town, and is about what happens when those men come back and these women are faced with the people that made them. The Reluctant Immortalist. I feel like it's going to be a revenge story. I think that would be a lot of fun. On a more serious note now, we have a non-fiction book, and that is Time Come by Linton Kwesi Johnson. And Linton Kwesi Johnson is known for being a fantastic poet, but as well as that, he was also a journalist, and he also wrote loads of prose pieces. So this is a collection of selected non-fiction writings that he did. So that is what this one is. And we also have here The Archaeology of Loss by Sarah Tarlow. I think the back of this book summarizes this one very well. It says, "When you find your husband lying dead, you think you will not forget a single detail of that moment, but already there are some things I'm not sure about, and as an archaeologist, I like to get things right and get the facts straight." So it's kind of Sarah as an archaeologist trying to work through her loss and her sense of loss, but also wondering like, where has this rooted from? Where are these emotions coming from? And trying to take a more technical approach to grief and her outlook on grief. As I mentioned before on this channel, grief is one of the topics that I'm very fascinated in, and I think is just under researched and appreciated and understood, and so if I can find something about grief, I will tend to read it. And here is a young adult one I'm very much looking forward to. It has a gorgeous cover, and that is Influential by Amara Sage, and this is a young adult book that kind of is talking about social media and cancel culture and all of that online world, and it's told from the perspective of a teenager who has been thrust into the limelight by her parents. So her parents were obviously, you know, parent social media people, so she's grown up up under the lens of a camera, but it's about when all of that goes wrong, or if you want to break away from it, what are you left with then? And I think it's interesting to kind of see these books that discuss and examine social media and the different approaches people have to it, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what this young adult novel does with that storyline. I'm going to try and whiz through these last ones because I've been talking for a very long time, but I need to say thank you to, again, EDPR for this trilogy, which is Emily McIntyre's. Starts with Wretched, Hooked and Scarred. This is the Never Ever After series, and these are like fairy tale retellings that sound like they have romances but also kind of the mythological fairy tale elements to them. And truthfully, I don't know too much about them. I did look up their synopses, but I think I'm going to tell you more about these ones once I've read them, and they sound like they are going to be fun fantasy reads. And a big thank you to Bloomsbury for Ada Rue and The Banished by Corinne Getton. This is one of those early readers books, so it's for those children who are kind of learning to read, and I really enjoyed When Life Gives You Mangoes by Corinne Getton, which was her middle grade book for a bit of an older audience, but I'm looking forward to seeing what she does with this story as well. It's following Ada, who kind of delves into the people who are banished, who are not allowed to come and exist in her area where she lives, and why they're not allowed to do so. For Christmas as well, so we've got a few more from my family. I have Chef's Kiss, which is by Jarrett Melendez, Danica Bryan, Hank Jones and Hassan Otsmane Elau, and this one I've already started reading. I'm like halfway through and I'm having such a good time with it. It's very heartwarming and cute. We're following a person who's just graduated from university. He really likes reading and he really likes writing and he wants to get into journalism, but nobody will accept him unless he has prior experience, which is totally impossible if you're just coming out of university. So he decides to accept a job that he sees in a restaurant as a chef. He really enjoys cooking, so he's got that going for him, but he's going to undergo a series of tests if he gets to stay, and he starts to have a little bit of a crush on one of the fellow chefs. It's very cute, the illustrations are really nice and it's sweet so far, but I'll definitely have my full opinions either up already or coming up in a wrap up very, very soon. Speaking of which, I want to mention the last graphic novel for this haul, and that is The Keeper. Again, this was a gift from my family for Christmas, so thank you very much. And this one is by Tanariva Due and Stephen Barnes and illustrated by Marco Finnegan. So Tanariva Due is very well known for her horror Afrofuturism writing, and this is an Afrofuturist graphic novel. It was described as horror Afrofuturism in a graphic novel, and that is really all that I needed to know. I did want to try something by this author for a very long time, and now I get to. And thank you to Abby. This is the last book that Abby got me from Abby Pernell. Thank you very much for How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. I'm trying to collect a couple of books from my childhood that I really, really enjoyed. This falls into being one of those. I love the film with Jim Carrey in it quite a lot, and well, quite a lot. I've watched that one many, many times. The last fiction book I have here is from Lena from Rassalasa Lena Reads. So thank you so much, Lena. We've become very good friends on BookTube and she's really, really lovely with a very nice cozy channel, so make sure you check her out. I'll have links to all of these people down below. And she is Latvian, so for Christmas she sent me this collection of Latvian fairy tales, and I have never before read Latvian literature or books, so I'm very much looking forward to delving into the stories of another culture that's different from mine. I do enjoy fairy tales a lot, so I'm looking forward to just seeing what I think of these for the first time. That was such a thoughtful gift. Thank you. And last but not least, we survived. We're here, guys. The last book that I want to tell you about is not even actually like a fiction book. It's a cookbook. And so this was a gift for Christmas, and I wanted to include it here because I'm just so happy that this exists. And I follow RG Vegan on Instagram. He is so amazing. He creates Caribbean food and he makes it vegan. That's kind of groundbreaking because a lot of Caribbean food is quite meat heavy and dairy heavy. So as someone who is meat reducing and tries not to cook meat anymore, the only times that I do cook meat is if I'm cooking Jamaican food, which is my own heritage. And so having this cookbook is just absolutely amazing. He has created the recipes in this book, he has self-published this cookbook, and it's just making Caribbean food vegan with Caribbean recipes, there's photography in it of the meals, so it's all like very professionally done. I know I said self-published, but don't let that deter you. Self-published books can be absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I followed his Instagram for a long time. I've tried some of his recipes that he has available for free, but I really wanted to support him by getting the cookbook and also accessing some of those recipes that are behind the paywall of needing to have the book. So very, very excited. This is going to be my cooking in 2023. Oh my goodness, there you have it. Those are all of the books that I hauled in over the Christmas period. I know this video is coming a bit late, but thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you to all of the publishers and friends and people involved and family involved in getting me these books. They make me so happy. I'm looking forward to reading them. I've already started reading some of them. I wish I could inhale them all at the same time. Please let me know in the comment section down below what was the latest book that you bought, received, borrowed or acquired. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to be updated every time I have a new video. And you know what they say, onwards and upwards. Excelsior!